How's everybody doing? My name is Tomlins Nyback. This is 365 Days Toward Racial Change. We're here talking about being black in America, impact, navigating it, understanding the, the atmosphere, um, being born into a world, into a nation that attaches a value to the color of your skin. Now, this works against, I think it works against all communities, whether it's the community inflicting racism and negativity on another skin color, or whether you're the victim of that. Nobody wins when your basis for valuing, judging, determining another person's life lacks so much reason. There's just no reason in skin color. Skin color, I've said this many times before, skin color is the poorest way to judge the character, the potential, the potency of an individual. I mean, you want me to look across the street and look at this skin color and say, oh, that's good or bad and stuff like that. Even though we've probably been a victim of determining a person's life in that way, it's still not right. It's the poorest thing. Let me see you perform, and that'll give me a better idea on um, how to determine your character and potency and your potential in the world. Anyway, the damage has been done. We've got tons of material all over the planet based on this thing called racism. And so what we do here at Racial Change is we look at a lot of different angles of that, a lot of different ways in which we, ascertain, appreciate what's really going on. I'm a big stickler for my experience in elementary school and how I was conditioned, indoctrinated, sitting side by side with little white kids, getting the same historical message. And it's only until decades later that I've realized the impact of being conditioned, indoctrinated into this nation, right? They don't tell you, it's up there with Santa Claus and Christmas, the way racism gets played out. It's different, and one is a holiday, and it's affirmed, and it's beautiful, and it's fun and sweet, and uh, the other approach in another paradigm is to say that um, the nation has fixed um, its most negative, challenging aspects. We've written down things. We've had wars. One single bearded man, uh, brought freedom to the whole section of America, and everybody is now equal in the fight. Well, historically, that does not pan out because we've had to have continuous um, conversations with government for protection, continuous upgrades and amendments, and we need a big historical event through the 60s, 50s, and 60s um, to try to prove that this nation has overcome its issues with racism. Hell, we even got senators, leaders, Mitch McConnell, he's unashamed of his belief that this nation has um, gotten over its racial problems because we had a black president. You know, oh boy, if the appearance of an exception to the paradigm proved that we um, solved our problems, uh, then we'd be further along. You wouldn't have me making a year's worth of videos on the issue. Yeah, I got too much material still coming at me about racism today. And this is 2020. We still got plenty of material almost daily on mainstream media about racism to some degree. So that's what we're here doing. We're trying to figure out, what's going on. What can we do? Can we navigate it? Is there a cure? Right? It's almost like a kind of disease, right? And things like that. But now that as this project is wrapping up, my head is going into different spaces, thinking about my next um, life project, maybe you want to call that, my lifetime achievement. I'm thinking about, I've come to a few conclusions. I'll have maybe a summary in the last two or so videos. I'm not going to belabor it. If you've heard my voice for these umpteen hours, I think you need a rest. Couple things, but a couple conclusions. And I won't say number one, I'll say one of the conclusions is that racism ain't going nowhere. Racism's just like rock and roll. It's here to stay. It's older than rock and roll. I love rock and roll. But racism, it's just man's natural inclination to discriminate for some reason. You know, even in countries where people's skin color is the same. You go to Africa and look at the genocide. It's like, you know, how can you tell these people apart? But black people own black people, see some difference, or there's a difference, and boom, there's a problem. Look at religion, Middle East, you know, Sunnis and Shia. Oh boy, like um, and the Christians got that same problem too, Protestant, Catholic, you know. Oh boy, mankind's just got a big problem. My context is that I'm in a space with skin color. I tell you, you know, somebody in Africa needs to do this, in Africa, Middle East. You got to do it with the religion problem. You Christians, Catholics, you could do 365 videos in this, and it's sad, right? Because what is mankind's problem? Why are we, still killing each other? You know, got me hooked on crime shows because there's so much crime, killing each other off. I can't. It's hard to imagine that the Earth is still populated with as much killing of each other as we do. 365 days of racial change. So we're looking at um, in our little corner of this Earth for these few brief years. It's interesting. Um, Individual, anybody, we get spat onto the Earth and have to live, compensate, learn real quick, get it together so we can survive, then try to have some quality of life, and then we're gone. Poof. right? And the next generation comes into this ongoing story on the globe. Amazing, amazing. So this is my lot. Uh, my burden. I started this project to ease my burden and my pain. We just said, racism's not going anywhere. But at the same time, I need an outlet, a release, because the pressure was starting to build. And I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know where to go with it, who to talk to, where my cohort was. And fortunately, I got a hold of some information and got exposed to some resources so that I could affirm what was going on and was able to find some peace, recognize, okay, that's racism. Even when I'm still a victim, so okay, no, that's racism. Racism is just a big, ugly beast roaming the earth, and it's very powerful. But it's okay. I need to know. Instead of you know trying to fight ghosts and immaterial things, which is what racism is. Its impact is very tangible, but it's an immaterial thing of consciousness. The communities created in the space. It's got no substance um, and no real power. It's just an idea. And once that idea is shared amongst the community, it galvanizes, it compresses, it builds force, and has potential, and explodes. And people are victims of the victims lie in the wake. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claud Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. His material really informs a lot of what we're doing here at Racial Change. First book I read by Dr. Claud Anderson is a Black History Reader, 100 Only Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, PowerNomics. You can find Dr. Anderson here on YouTube, PowerNomics.com. Easy guy to get a hold of. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. You'll find Black women having their support and resources sharing there. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. If you can't find your flavor here on the World Wide Web, do what I did. Start your own little daily talk to yourself on a computer and get some healing. You get some healing from that. And I've got a little piece of audience going on. Check out, I've never looked, but there might be a subscribe button down there. Subscribe. I've subscribed to a few things myself. Oh, if you've got a business mind, entrepreneurial spirit, go holler at Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. Check out my man Tyrone Gregory, the self-employed tax guy. Help you out. You can find him on LinkedIn. Plenty of resources out there. Resources. We're exploding with resources. If you want to understand American money, global interconnectedness, Federal Reserve, very important topics because money is a whole nother creature. Creature. Where there's a particular creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. Check him out. Uncle Tom's Cabin. We've gone through this story, and we're going to start revisiting this. Just open the book sometimes and get back to America's roots, right? America didn't start out right. If you got a tree and and let's just say grafting. let's use grafting today, right? If you got a tree, you take an apple tree and you graft a peach branch onto it, you get a nectarine, right? You get a different fruit, you get a combination. And that particular branch is always going to produce that kind of fruit. America, with all its grafting, its origins, has a graft of racism, and it's always going to be bearing that kind of fruit, that kind of nature within itself. Today we're in PowerNomics. If you have the book, page 163, and we'll talk. Dr. Anderson, he's talking about sunset industries. And remember, you can look at the description at the bottom of this page to get my detailed thoughts. They actually go hand in hand. They're not identical. It's not a transcript of this video. The sunset industries are the industries that are either in decline, have been taken over by technology, may have replaced them, or they're industries that are leaving American shores and heading overseas. And that's an important aspect in Dr. Anderson's thought, because he's very much committed and connected to showing the socioeconomic orientation of anything that happens in America. America is a capitalist nation, so every move involves money. Every single thing. Even our biggest corporations and foundations and some of these um, giant tax entities that um, maybe deliver food, education, stuff like that. Well, there's some tinkering in the background to offset or compensate for that. It's financial in nature. Everything in America is connected. It's in finances, money. It's it's inextricably linked to every single thing because we're a capitalist nation. We got this going through the coronavirus. That our biggest hangup is money. We either, right, when the nation was shut down, we looked at other countries. Oh, they shut down, went on quarantine and all that. All right, and so there was this kind of buildup where you expect that the United States would follow suit of the world. Some parts of the country did. They had to because of density and stuff. New York, LA, take some of our concentrations of peoples, and there was some more aggressive, um, programs employed out there. But for the most part, America was like, you got to keep the money going some way, right? I mean, could you? I can't imagine what it was like to shut down Las Vegas. I mean, that's gambling addiction out there, you know, um, things like that. Anyway, so that's the thing. So when we talk about these sunset industries, I digressed a little bit. It's an important factor because Dr. Anderson recognizes, black people, we're vulnerable, we're in our position, we're always clawing and using a lot of energy to maintain and succeed in the system because of the socioeconomic pressures arrayed against us. It's a resistance in America. And it's from slavery and all stuff we've talked about before. But it's important to recognize that, so industries, when technology moves these industries out. Remember, the black people are relatively on the bottom of this kind of cross section of America, white people generally on top. financially, and this thing moves. It's all relative, right? The coronavirus came and the bottom really dropped out and things hurt us economically. So, you see those white folks are up on top and they get pressed down. Well, that just knocks black people right out the picture, right? So when technology comes in and the need for manpower for physical bodies decreases in a sector or in a space, well, it just everything goes down. And the white folks with the privilege and the tech skills, education, and the privilege, they're going to get in there, get that. When jobs go overseas, well, there goes their demand for physical bodies goes down again. You know, and just put a plug in. Get some education, especially in the tech sector. A lot of things um, are happening where your laptop can really become your lucrative friend, right? I think I'm heading in that direction myself. I just want to get this project over, so I put my teeth in it. So that's some of the issues that we got a race problem that won't go away, but we can kind of navigate that, and even I'm okay with that. But the problem is it's connected to my paycheck and my resources and my ability to sustain and to pursue happiness and all these things in America. Some sunset industries, and this will be no surprise, these items and services exist to some degree, but they're becoming less and less. Appliances, watches, toys, all on, add, and fitted in the description I talked about. Gas station attendants, that's disappeared. People, I don't know anywhere, any place that has a gas station attendant, right? Everybody's self-serve at the pump now. You know, that man or woman at the counter can run an island of, you know, 12 to 18 pumps. One person is now running that. So you don't have that anymore. I grew up in the cusp of that. I even had a friend that pumped gas. You know, so that's something to think about, something to consider. So these industries, um, that they decrease because of technology and whatnot, like appliances. They're either more durable. Your home is integrated with them, and you're running your home through your smartphone, your electronic device, toys, watches. A watch is, you see a watch on a person. Um, it's hard to talk about a watch because my phone tells me the time now. You I don't see myself going back to a watch, but you see people with watches. You know that it's really a novelty. It's nostalgia. It's not necessary because everyone's phone and everybody has a phone now. Toys are and little games are on your phone now. I was just watching NASCAR, the first race since the virus shut down sports. Sports is coming back. But one of the drivers in the race, he started his NASCAR career by driving on simulators, right? That's what's like, wow. So now your simulation experience, much like a airline pilot, a fighter pilot, you're going to be, um, that's going to speed up your your um, your growth in those kind of high skilled sectors of aircraft pilot, um, running a race car, right? You sit in a simulator and you're not on these minor tracks and coming up through the ranks and stuff like that. You can be um, elevated to those positions with the skills and do quite well. NAFTA used to be a big, in the late 90s, NAFTA was a big issue, right? President Trump came in, kind of erased some of that stuff. He came in with the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, USMCA, which gave some upgrades to the agreement. You know, Trump's a businessman, so you look at his approaches to policy, and it's very business-like. It's not political. So this country has had politics. I'm sorry, businessmen as leaders, and it's definitely a different flavor to the nation when a businessman versus a politician is running it. I'm not going to go into a whole lot about that. But so today, the United States Mexico Canada agreement is something for this North American uh, area to conduct its business. The one thing about these sunset industries, and it's like I said before, you know, I'm watching the Spanish folks put on a new roof, and you know, black people, a lot of things have just failed us, and we failed. Dr. Anderson's his book, especially PowerNomics, was published in 2014. You know, it's filled with a lot of warnings and caution about black people being vulnerable, being further at risk, about other groups overrunning um, black people in our experience. And so much of what he said was right. I had no idea. I'm brand new to this information. I got exposed to these truths at the end of 2018. Um, but the black community really needed to make some moves, and so there's a degree to which it's too late to rescue and glean some of his intentions that he had for black people, because of the way white folks have really positioned themselves to manage, control, dominate so many industries. Um, so it's hard to picture any kind of black domination. I'm looking for more competition, things like that. But it's sad that everything seemingly creatively that black people have is like under this huge white banner umbrella all the time. You know, I mean, we're the best entertainers, athletes, uh, things like that, and yet as great as we are, it's still a big white shield that hovers over top of that um, that's very much in control. So our sunset industries, you know, Dr. Anderson, his intent was to have us, oh, fill in, anticipate some of the decline, and rise up that way. That's kind of my ideal of how I would apply Dr. Anderson's explanation of sunset industries, is to say, you know, recognize an industry in decline and try to create a product or service that's going to be needed right there in the right there, and so we could just, catch the wave as as new technology, new services take hold. It's the same way with what we would do, like, if we could anticipate like Bill Gates and be right in the front of the wave and just glean the huge resources and wealth in the wake of all that. I would hope to see some new stuff. Our opportunities are now more online. I'm seeing so many more opportunities online. Like I said, I've been making money online a little bit. I'm going to try to ramp that up, put that on steroids after this project. That might be my next big thing. But for Sunset Industries, just beware, if you're like me coming up through the ranks, blue collar worker, I'm kind of at the end of that. Just conversating with my case manager and work and blue collar work. Oh, it's such a religion, and it leaves me so empty. Employers aren't trying to elevate me above themselves or help me out, really be altruistic in the way that I need them to be so that I could um, have a big house, own car, happy family, some of that stuff that I'm still after. Oh, so, just be awake, be aware, watch if you're in a position to watch things rise and fall and take advantage, have that mind to um, really maximize on things. Do your best to take advantage, take hold, strike while the iron is hot. I'm starting to find out in the world, and that could bring you some success. I'm Tomlin's buyback. That's 365 days toward racial change. Day 339 out of the way. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.